Day 6. Today, I have a lesson from high school. I learned this, I'd say, the hard way. Like, I made a mistake before learning the lesson. And I think that's what life really is. So, I've written it down here. And the lesson is: do not be quick to reject knowledge or assume that what you know is the only right thing. And this happens to a lot of us. The fact that we know something, or especially when we've known the thing for so long, we assume that that is the only right thing. And in some contexts, we assume that that is the only truth. And the backstory to how I got to learn this lesson is, on one particular occasion, a friend of mine and myself had gone to a senior colleague to teach us something. Ideally, there were supposed to be three of us who were expected to go meet that senior colleague for him to explain some new concepts to us. So we went and he taught us. Only two of us showed up and he taught us the thing. We got a good understanding of it. And back in the day, sometimes you memorize some of these things. So we were on our way back, the three of us, as in my friend, myself, and the senior colleague. When we met, the third person was to have joined us who didn't, and we decided to tease him because he has missed a lot by not joining us. So we started teasing him by asking him questions. We know that he's going to get it wrong, and we're going to laugh at him because why didn't you show up? You were supposed to show up. We asked him the question and he said something. To us, whatever he said isn't what we have just learned about the thing. So we started laughing at this guy. We laughed so hard, we didn't even realize when the senior colleague was prompting us to stop laughing. Then, eventually, when we stopped laughing at him, our attention was drawn to the fact that what he just said is also correct, and that it's like the same thing but explained in two different approaches. And that got me thinking, like, we usually do that in almost everything. We assume that this is what I know and that is the only right thing. So we need to be really cautious in life. Like, there's almost always not a single right thing. There's something in everything. And there is sometimes knowledge beyond what you know. And especially, I think that the explanation to things is usually based on the contexts that you have as an individual. So, however you see, like the lens through which you see the world, is actually different from the lens through which every other person sees the world. So you would see A as A, but then someone else, based on their experience with that thing, might not see it as A. That doesn't mean that you are right and they are wrong, and it also doesn't mean you are wrong and they are right. So in a lot of situations, it's very difficult to really say that one person is right and the other is wrong. And we need to be open to those possibilities, that hardly do we have a single truth or a single right thing. And I know that some people do not agree to this. In fact, I remember when I was in undergraduate, I think somewhere first year undergraduate, I published something about my thoughts on philosophies and the fact that philosophies as we know them do not universally apply to us as individuals. Several years later, I still believe the same thing. Like, I still hold the same stance, that the fact that some philosopher, maybe you think about them as some wise philosophers in the past, the fact that they said something doesn't make it applicable to all of us. And that Unfortunately, some of us assume that because this is a great philosopher who once lived, this is a universal truth. And that is really not true, because they had a certain context. Like for unless if it is a universal physics law, right? But if it is something that has to do with human behavior, there's usually it's not physics. Like it's not 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 straightforward rule that this is the truth and we all know that. Because most of the things, we are social beings, we live in an environment, and the environment forms our context. Our lived experiences are different, our perspectives are different, and all of these things are driven by the experiences that we have had as individuals, what we have heard, especially what we have heard over and over and over. I usually say that the things that you hear over and over and over, they become your truth. So, for instance, somebody who was given birth to and always heard the fact that they're dumb. Like if everybody kept telling them that you are dumb, you won't amount to anything, like it will take some serious level of intentionality and work to really get out of that mindset and succeed beyond what the people tell you, especially if you heard it over and over and over. It becomes your truth. Like you begin to see yourself as dumb. And fortunately for me as an individual, I would say that I was a product of good words. Like I don't remember people saying bad things about me when I was young. And almost everywhere that I went, I heard in fact that, oh, you're smart, you're smart. Like everybody said you are smart. So I automatically assumed that I'm smart. And I went everywhere with that assumption. And I think it panned out well for me, right? So that's one huge thing, that almost the thing that you hear over and over and over and over eventually becomes your truth. You automatically assume that that is the right thing. And when that happens, we usually tend not to ask questions. We don't question what we believe to be our truth. And if you don't question it, there's no way you'd find any other alternative. And once you have accepted that, that becomes your the thing that you believe in so much, right? So the very first thing that we want to do is to note that even the things that we hold dearly, the things that we believe are is the truth and nothing else, they could be lies, or there is a possibility that it is not the whole truth. And that's the most scariest part. When you hold half truth, oh my goodness, like when you hold half truth and believe that it is the truth and you don't accept any other, that can really be messy. So we want to be able to question all our assumptions in life, all the truths that we know. In fact, you're growing right now and you have some level of intelligence of yourself, and you should be able to question all the things that you hold true. So the question, for instance, like you grew up and everybody told you that this person is your parent, right? And you assume that that is true. But what if it's not? Like, what if that is not the truth? Because there are people that happen, like, I mean, it happened as such. I mean, there's a possibility, of course, you might resemble, I for one resemble my father so much that if, like, I'm basically more of a replica of my dad, right? So it was easy for me to accept the fact that, oh, he's my dad, right? But have I done a DNA test to confirm? No. So how can I be 100% sure about that? Just because they told me, like I accepted that, and of course I saw the similarity. So we automatically assume that it is true because that's what they told us, or we've seen something that shows it, right? And for that reason, we begin not to question any of these things. And the lesson that I'm sharing today is we have to not reject any knowledge. Like if somebody says it in a different way, if somebody has a different experience or a different opinion about something, don't auto reject that. You need to begin to analyze things. And I've seen a lot of people, especially smart people, where they think that every other person is dumb. For that reason, whatever every other person shares is not good. Like they're not even open to listening to anybody else. Of course, you want to get to a level where you can see things and know what is good, what is not good. But my recommendation is for you to be open to hearing what other people have to say and questioning your own assumptions. Okay, don't think that your assumptions are the best. They are the fundamental truth and nothing but the truth. Please learn to question them and be open to learning from others, irrespective of who they are. Even the least intelligent person in the world might have something to share with you, like might have something that they know that you don't know. Just because you've never or you've not gotten to live in exact experience or exposure they've been through in life. And every one of us have been in some sort of unique experience based on how we interpret the world, the lens through which we see the world, our initial training as individuals, like my perspective being taught as one a science student and a pharmacist becoming a software engineer, like the way I see problems and the way I analyze problems is different from how somebody from the arts would analyze them, but more so my background, as in where I grew up, the kind of people I interacted with growing up, and even all through my life, the kind of people I've gotten the opportunity to interact with, the various places that I've sat, all of these things inform how I interpret things. And it is same with every one of us. You interpret things based on a particular lens or view of the world that you have. And for that reason, don't be quick to say or reject any knowledge or any opinion from others. Sit with them, then analyze it critically. You need to test your own assumptions. That's why, as scientists, almost every assumption you have is just a hypothesis. And sometimes you need to run experiments. And based on running experiments, you should be open to rejecting your hypothesis or accepting your hypothesis. So you should treat life like that, where you either test your own hypothesis or test the hypothesis of others that are sharing. So every single thing that you deem as truth, it's basically some sort of hypothesis until proven otherwise, right? If you have done the experiment, and in fact, even experiments can change over time depending on the inputs that you're using. But if you have done the experiments enough to be able to understand or come to draw a conclusion that yes, indeed, this hypothesis holds true, given this context, then whenever you're in that context, that becomes your truth. Otherwise, you should be open to questioning all of that and every assumption that you've made, everything that you've considered to be truth. Be open to questioning it, and remember not to ever reject any knowledge just because you think you know what is right. All right, that's what I had for today, and I hope you pick a lesson from it, and looking forward to tomorrow. Until then, bye for now. Bye bye.